Jake Miller had never expected anything unusual to happen in his small home on the edge of Vera 9. The colony was quiet. Almost too quiet. With only the faint hum of the settlement's power grid and the occasional whistle of the wind outside. Jake liked it that way. Life was simple, calm, and predictable. He worked as an engineer, fixing machinery and maintaining systems for the people in the colony. It wasn't glamorous, and it certainly wasn't dangerous. That was how he liked it. That night, Jake was sitting in his small living room, drinking a cup of synthetic coffee he had brewed himself. The room was modest but cozy, with a single lamp casting a warm glow over the furniture. He had been planning to spend the evening reading, maybe checking some old holovids he had downloaded. Outside, the wind blew softly, and the stars were bright in the dark sky. Then came a knock on the door. Jake froze. It was a slow, deliberate knock, not the hurried tap of a neighbor or a delivery. Something about it made the hair on his arms stand up. He set his cup down and stared at the door, listening. Another knock followed, louder this time, almost echoing through the small house. Who could that be at this hour? He muttered under his breath. He approached the door cautiously, each step feeling heavier than the last. The knock came again, firm and urgent. Jake's mind raced. The colony was supposed to be safe. No one came this far out in the middle of the night, not without reason. When he opened the door, Jake could hardly believe what he saw. Standing there was a figure tall enough to cast a shadow over him, with skin that shimmered faintly under the lamplight. Her eyes were large, intelligent, and glowing faintly with a strange light. Her armor was smooth and dark, shining as if it were alive, and it hugged her frame in a way that suggested both strength and elegance. Jake blinked, trying to process the impossible truth. This was not a human. This was an alien. And from the way she carried herself, he could tell she was dangerous. "I need your help," the alien said. Her voice was deep and calm, but it carried a weight that made Jake instinctively step back. I think you have the wrong place," Jake stammered, gripping the doorframe for support. "I don't think I can help you." The alien tilted her head slightly, as if considering his words. "You can, and you will. There is no one else." Jake swallowed hard, his heart pounding in his chest. His rational mind screamed at him to shut the door and call for help. His instincts, the ones that had kept him alive for 30 years, screamed at him to run. But something in her gaze held him still. It wasn't just fear or menace. There was urgency, almost desperation, in her eyes. I don't know what you mean," Jake said cautiously. "Who are you? Why are you here?" "My name is Lyria," she said simply. "I am a queen of my people. But that is not important right now. What matters is that I need your help, and your help alone can prevent a disaster." Jake opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. A queen? An alien queen? It sounded insane, yet the confidence in her voice, the seriousness in her posture, made him hesitate. He had always known there were things in the galaxy humans didn't understand, things that were dangerous and powerful. He never thought he would face one. And yet, here she was, standing in his doorway, calm and commanding. I don't know anything about disasters or helping queens," Jake said finally. I'm just a mechanic. I fix machines." "Exactly," Lyria replied. "You think simply because you are human and live a simple life, you cannot make a difference. That is where you are wrong. Your mind, your courage, your adaptability, these are rare qualities, and they are exactly what is needed now." Jake shook his head, trying to make sense of her words. "I think you're mistaken. You need someone trained, someone with experience. Not me. I have no other choice," Lyria said firmly. "I cannot go to anyone else. If I fail, millions will die. You must trust me, or everything you know will be destroyed." Jake's stomach turned. Millions would die? His mind reeled with the thought. He had always thought of danger as something distant, something that happened to other people, in other places. He had never imagined he would be standing on the line between life and death for millions of beings, not just humans, but creatures from another world entirely. And yet, as he looked at her, he felt a strange pull. Lyria's presence was terrifying, yes. But there was also something about her honesty, her urgency, and even her vulnerability that made it impossible to turn away. "Fine," Jake said slowly, almost to himself. "I don't really have a choice, do I?" "No," Lyria said simply. "You do not." Jake stepped aside and let her in. The alien queen moved with surprising grace, her armor making faint clicking sounds as she walked. She looked around his small home, her eyes sharp and alert, taking in every detail. Jake felt a mixture of awe and fear. He had lived his life thinking humans were alone in the galaxy, thinking the vast universe was mostly empty. He had been wrong. "Sit," Lyria commanded, gesturing to the small chair across from him. She did not sit herself, choosing instead to remain standing. Jake obeyed, his heart still racing. "I need to explain," Lyria said, her voice softening slightly. "But I must be careful. My people would kill me if they knew I was speaking to a human. Even a trusted human could betray me. That is why you are the only one I can trust." Jake nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll listen. But please, start slow. I don't understand much about your world." Lyria's eyes softened slightly, almost like she appreciated his honesty. "Very well," she said. "I will begin with what I can safely tell you. My people, my kingdom, is on the brink of war. We have enemies within and outside our borders. The conflict I face is unlike anything you have ever seen. It is not about land, or wealth, or power. It is about survival." Jake swallowed hard. "Survival? For your people?" "Yes," Lyria said. "And for others. There are forces that, if left unchecked, will bring destruction not only to my world, but to many others. Your world included." Jake leaned back in his chair, feeling the weight of her words settle over him. He had heard of wars between alien species, of colonies being wiped out, but he had always considered them stories, distant events with no bearing on him. Now, that distant danger was standing in his living room, looking him in the eye. "Why me?" he asked finally. "There must be thousands of humans in the colony. Why come to me?" Lyria's gaze met his, intense and unwavering. "Because you have something they do not. Your mind is adaptable. Your courage is natural. Your choices are not constrained by fear of politics or tradition. You think simply because you are small. Because you are human. You cannot matter. That is exactly why you can. Ride. Ride. You can mind lung. Ride." Jake didn't know what to say. He felt both honored and terrified. To think that one ordinary human could hold the key to saving entire worlds seemed impossible. And yet, the truth in her words rang clear. Humans were underestimated, often dismissed as fragile or weak, but they survived. They adapted. They endured. And perhaps that was why he was here. Lyria stepped closer, her towering form filling the doorway as if she were a shadow of the night itself. "Time is short," she said. "I cannot stay long, and I cannot speak freely. But I need you to prepare. The choice you make tonight will shape the lives of millions. Will you help me, Jake Miller?" Jake looked at her, his mind racing. His life had been simple, safe, and quiet. He had never faced monsters or kings or wars that could destroy entire worlds. And yet, in this moment, he felt something stirring inside him, something he had never noticed before. A spark of courage, a sense of purpose, the knowledge that he could, somehow, make a difference. "Yes," he said finally, his voice steady despite the fear that gripped him. "I'll help you." Lyria's eyes softened for the first time, a faint light shining in the depths of her alien gaze. "Good," she said. "You do not yet understand what this means, but you will. And when you do, you will see that humans are stronger than anyone believes." Jake swallowed hard, his heart pounding, as he realized that his life, the life he had always thought was ordinary and safe, had changed forever. The deadliest alien in the galaxy had come to his door, and he had said yes. And with that yes, everything he thought he knew about the universe and about himself was about to be tested. Jake couldn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Lyria standing at his door, her tall form and glowing eyes etched into his mind. He kept thinking about what she had said about wars, survival, and millions of lives at stake. It seemed impossible. How could one ordinary human like him make a difference? By the time dawn broke, Jake had made a decision. He had agreed to help her, and now he had to figure out how. The first problem was trust. How could he trust an alien, even one claiming to be a queen? Yet, there was something in Lyria's eyes he couldn't ignore. There was honesty, and perhaps even fear. Whatever she faced, it was real, and it was dangerous. When he went to his small kitchen to make breakfast, he found Lyria already there. She had entered quietly, without a word, and was examining his simple tools with curiosity. "Good morning," Jake said cautiously, trying to hide his unease. "Good morning, Jake," Lyria replied. Her voice was calm, but it carried an edge of authority that made him straighten in his chair. "You need strength for the work ahead." Jake poured himself a cup of coffee and offered one to her. She looked at it curiously, then shook her head. "Your substances are different from what I consume, but the concept is similar. Fuel for energy." Jake nodded, taking a sip and trying to steady his nerves. "I don't even know where to start," he admitted. "I'm just a mechanic. I fix machines. I don't fight wars or save worlds." "You underestimate yourself," Lyria said softly. "Humans often do. But that is also your strength. You think simply, you adapt quickly, and you find solutions that others overlook. That is why I am here, and why I need you." Jake felt a strange mix of pride and fear. He had never thought of himself as a hero. He had never wanted to be. But standing in front of him was a creature who could destroy entire worlds, yet she was asking for his help. That alone was terrifying and oddly flattering. "What exactly do you need me to do?" he asked, trying to sound calm. Lyria hesitated for a moment, as if weighing her words. "I cannot tell you everything. My people would kill me if they knew. Even speaking openly about the danger is risky. But I can tell you this. A weapon has been developed, one that could end entire civilizations, and it is hidden on your world. I must neutralize it before it is used." Jake's stomach tightened. "A weapon? Hidden? Here?" "Yes," Lyria said. "It is designed to be undetectable. Only someone with ingenuity and courage could locate and disarm it. That is where you come in." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. He had never imagined that his quiet life on Vera 9 could be connected to something so dangerous. Something that could wipe out billions. And yet, here it was, in his world, and somehow, he had been chosen to face it. "Why me?" he asked again. "Why not someone trained for this?" "Because humans have a quality others do not," Lyria said. "You are unpredictable. You think freely. You are not bound by fear of tradition or rules. That is why I need you. You may be the only hope we have." Jake stared at her, trying to understand. It seemed impossible that he, a simple engineer, could be responsible for saving the galaxy. But looking into her eyes, He saw sincerity, urgency, and even fear. She wasn't lying. She couldn't afford to lie. "All right," he said finally. "I'll help. But I need you to explain what I am supposed to do." Lyria nodded. "We must act carefully. The weapon is protected by technology beyond human understanding. It is hidden inside a facility disguised as a common research station. You will need to infiltrate it, study its systems, and disable it without triggering its defenses. You will not be alone. I will guide you. But much of the work will depend on your instincts and skill." Jake's heart raced. He had never done anything like this before. He had fixed engines, circuits, and machines, but never infiltrated a dangerous facility with alien technology. The thought of failure terrified him. If he failed, millions could die. "We leave tonight," Lyria said. "The window to act is short. If we delay, the weapon could be activated." Jake nodded, swallowing his fear. "Tonight," he repeated. It sounded final, and it made his stomach twist. The day passed slowly. Jake tried to focus on preparing, checking his tools, reviewing the systems he knew, and imagining the unknown challenges ahead. Lyria moved around him silently, watching his preparations with a keen eye, occasionally offering advice or correcting small mistakes. Her presence was overwhelming, yet strangely comforting. She was dangerous, yes, but also focused entirely on the mission. As evening approached, Lyria led Jake to a small shuttle hidden behind his home. The shuttle was sleek and dark, almost blending into the shadows. Jake had never seen a vehicle like it. Its surface seemed alive, smooth and reflective, with strange markings that glowed faintly. "This will take us close to the facility," Lyria explained. "From there, we must proceed carefully. Detection could mean instant failure and death." Jake nodded, gripping the shuttle's controls nervously. He had flown small ships before, but nothing like this. The technology was advanced, almost alien in every sense. Lyria's presence beside him, calm and commanding, reminded him that failure was not an option. The shuttle lifted off quietly, gliding above the colony and into the dark sky. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction, and Jake felt a small thrill, despite the fear knotting his stomach. He was leaving the world he knew behind, stepping into the unknown, guided by an alien queen whose motives were clear, but whose power was terrifying. "Stay calm," Lyria said, her voice breaking the silence. "Your mind will guide you. Do not let fear control you." Jake took a deep breath, nodding. "I'll try." "You must do more than try," she replied. "You must succeed." Hours passed as they approached the location of the weapon. Lyria explained the limited information she could share. The facility was heavily protected, with systems designed to detect intruders instantly. Security drones, energy shields, and automated defenses were all in place. Jake had to rely on his knowledge, intuition, and careful observation to navigate the danger. When the shuttle finally landed in a hidden clearing near the facility, Jake's nerves were at their peak. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Every step he took could mean life or death, not just for him, but for countless others. Lyria led the way through the shadows, her movements silent and precise. Jake followed, trying to mirror her grace and focus. The facility loomed ahead, a massive structure of metal and lights, humming with energy. It seemed ordinary at first glance, but Jake knew better. This was no simple research station. This was a weapon, a danger waiting to be unleashed. They paused at the edge of the clearing. Lyria turned to him. "You must enter alone," she said. "I can guide you from here, but if you are detected, I cannot intervene directly. Your courage and skill will determine the outcome." Jake swallowed hard, nodding. His hands shook slightly as he reached for the entry panel. He had never felt more fear in his life, but at the same time, He felt a strange surge of determination. He could not fail. Not now. Not ever. Taking a deep breath, he activated the panel. The door slid open silently, and he stepped inside. The interior was dark and cold, filled with machinery and blinking lights. The hum of energy was intense, almost alive. Jake's mind raced as he moved carefully, scanning for traps or security measures. Every step he took was calculated. Every choice mattered. He relied on his engineering knowledge to bypass simple mechanisms and used his instincts to avoid detection. Hours seemed to pass in minutes as he navigated the corridors, each corner bringing new tension, new challenges, and new dangers. From outside, Lyria's presence remained a guiding force. Though she did not enter, Jake felt her focus on him, almost like a silent shield. Her belief in him gave him strength, even as fear threatened to overwhelm him. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Jake reached the central chamber. In the center stood the weapon, sleek and ominous, humming with deadly potential. He felt a chill run through him. One wrong move, one mistake, and the consequences could be catastrophic. Taking a deep breath, he approached the control console. This was it. The moment that would test everything he was, everything humanity represented. Courage, ingenuity, and adaptability, qualities humans often underestimated, would be his only tools. Jake's fingers hovered over the controls, ready to act. Failure was not an option. He was a human, underestimated and ordinary, yet standing at the threshold of saving countless lives. The weight of the galaxy rested on him, and somehow, he felt ready. Jake's hands trembled as he stared at the central console of the weapon. The air in the chamber was thick with the hum of energy, a sound that seemed to vibrate through his chest. This machine, this terrifying device, could wipe out entire civilizations. And yet, here he was, a single human, standing before it, tasked with stopping it. He glanced back at the small screen Lyria had activated from the shuttle, which displayed her instructions. She guided him carefully, telling him which circuits to examine, which codes to bypass, and which systems to disable first. But even with her guidance, the task was overwhelming. Every move required precision. One wrong action, and the weapon could activate. One mistake, and billions of lives would be lost. Jake took a deep breath and forced himself to focus. He reminded himself that humans were adaptable. Humans had survived disasters, wars, and threats far beyond their size or strength. He was ordinary, yes, but he was also capable. And now, the fate of countless beings rested on his courage. He started by examining the main power grid of the device. Strange symbols blinked on the panels. Symbols he did not understand. Yet somehow his mind worked instinctively to decipher them. His hands moved with purpose, adjusting wires and circuits according to Lyria's directions. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but he refused to let fear take control. As he worked, a thought struck him. What if the weapon had other defenses, hidden systems designed to detect tampering? He had to be cautious, but he also had to act quickly. The longer he hesitated, the greater the risk that someone or something might discover the weapon's presence and activate it. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. The room was silent, except for the hum of the weapon and the soft voice of Lyria guiding him. Her instructions were precise, almost robotic. But there was an urgency beneath her calm tone. Jake realized that she trusted him, relied on him entirely. That trust gave him strength, even as fear gnawed at the edges of his mind. Finally, he reached the inner chamber of the weapon, where the core systems were housed. Here, the energy was stronger, almost palpable, and the air seemed to vibrate with power. Jake's heart pounded as he studied the controls. There were layers upon layers of safeguards, complex algorithms designed to prevent anyone from tampering with the device. Jake, Lyria's voice came through the screen. This is the most critical part. You must disable the core without triggering the failsafes. If you make a mistake, the weapon could activate instantly. Jake nodded, though she could not see him. He wiped his sweaty palms on his pants and began to work, his mind sharp, his focus unwavering. Every connection he made, every wire he adjusted, had to be precise. He worked methodically, carefully, until he finally reached the last protective layer. That's when Lyria spoke again, her voice lower, almost hesitant. Jake, there is something I must tell you before you proceed. Jake froze. His hands hovered over the controls. What is it? He asked cautiously. Lyria's voice was quiet, almost fragile. The weapon. It is not just a machine. It is linked to me. I carry the control of it within my biology. It is why I am alive. Why I am here. If I fail, the weapon could still function. If you make a mistake, it could activate. And I cannot reveal this to anyone else. Not even my closest advisors. Jake's mind reeled. You mean the weapon is part of you? Yes, Lyria said softly. I was altered to carry the weapon's core within me. It is why I am the deadliest being in the galaxy. It is why my life is constantly in danger. And it is why I had to come to you. Only a human, someone outside my society, could help me neutralize it without alerting those who would use it for destruction. Jake stepped back, shock overtaking him. He had known she was powerful, but he had not imagined this. The deadliest alien in the galaxy, standing before him in armor and strength, carried a weapon capable of annihilation inside her very body. And now, he was being asked to help her disable it. I don't know if I can, Jake admitted, his voice trembling. This is beyond anything I've ever faced. If I fail. You will not fail, Lyria said firmly. I believe in you. I have chosen you because humans have a resilience and courage that is often overlooked. You have faced fear before, and you have survived. This is no different. You can do this. Jake took a deep breath. He knew she was right. Fear was natural, but it could not control him. Humans had survived against all odds. He could survive this too. And in another, not round, with Create. And if he succeeded, countless lives would be saved. He returned to the console, his fingers moving over the controls with renewed determination. Lyria's guidance was precise, and he followed it to the letter. Every connection he adjusted, every circuit he disabled, brought him closer to neutralizing the weapon. As he worked, he noticed the subtle patterns in the weapon's energy flow. The device pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. It was terrifying to think that one mistake could trigger such immense destruction. Yet, he felt a strange connection to it, a realization that he could understand it, if only he focused. Minutes stretched into hours. Jake's mind was sharp, his senses alert. He relied on his knowledge, intuition, and human adaptability to navigate the complex systems. Every step he took was calculated, precise, and deliberate. Finally, he reached the core interface, the part that directly connected to Lyria's biology. He paused, realizing the gravity of the moment. One wrong move could harm her, or worse, activate the weapon. His hands shook slightly, but he forced himself to stay steady. Jake, Lyria said softly, trust your instincts. You are ready. You can do this. He nodded, taking a deep breath. He studied the interface carefully, analyzing the patterns of energy, the flow of information. Then, slowly, methodically, he began to disable the core's systems, following Lyria's instructions precisely. At first, nothing happened. The weapon's hum continued, steady and unbroken. But Jake did not panic. He continued, carefully adjusting the circuits, bypassing the safeguards, and neutralizing the triggers. He felt a growing sense of confidence, a realization that he could control the situation. Then, A sudden surge of energy pulsed through the core. Jake froze, his heart pounding. He had triggered something, but he did not panic. He analyzed the flow, identified the source, and quickly redirected it through a safe channel, preventing any activation. "You are doing well," Lyria said calmly, though he could sense her tension. Jake nodded, his hands moving with precision. He focused on the task, blocking out fear, doubt, and exhaustion. Every move mattered. Every decision was critical. And yet, he felt a strange clarity, a sense of purpose he had never experienced before. Finally, he completed the final adjustment. The core's energy stabilized. The hum softened, and the weapon went silent. Jake took a deep breath, his body trembling with relief and exhaustion. He had done it. Against all odds, he had neutralized the deadliest weapon in the galaxy. Lyria stepped forward, her eyes glowing faintly with a mixture of relief and admiration. "You have done it," she said softly. "You have saved countless lives. You have done what no one else could." Jake leaned against the console, feeling the weight of what had just happened. He was tired, overwhelmed, and still in shock. But there was also a sense of pride. A realization that humans were capable of extraordinary things, even when faced with impossible odds. I didn't know I could do this," he admitted quietly. "You did," Lyria said firmly. "Humans often underestimate themselves. They think they are small, fragile, or weak. But your courage, your intelligence, your adaptability, these are your greatest strengths. You are proof of what humanity can achieve." Jake looked at her, feeling a deep respect for the alien queen who had trusted him, guided him, and believed in him. He realized that their partnership had not only neutralized a weapon, but had also bridged the gap between two very different species. "You saved me too," Lyria said softly. "Without you, I could not have done this. You have my gratitude and my trust." Jake nodded, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. He had never expected to face such danger, to be part of something so important, and yet, he had done it. He had proven that even an ordinary human could rise to the occasion, even when faced with the deadliest forces in the galaxy. As they prepared to leave the facility, Jake realized that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a mechanic on the edge of Vera 9. He was someone who had faced fear, taken action, and made a difference. And he knew, deep in his heart, that this was only the beginning of a journey that would test humanity and his own courage like never before.